So the number one question we get asked at Electric Scooter Guide is, hey, I'm thinking about getting my very first scooter. What's the best electric scooter? Well, the easy answer, and the answer you'll get from Reddit, or at least you used to, was, get something from Segway Ninebot. But that started to change about a year ago. And right around that time, we ran into this new Swiss scooter company called VMAX. And I rode this scooter right here. And literally from my first ride, I could tell these guys were gonna be a big deal. And they've been a big deal in Germany if you look on YouTube. There are like a million German reviews of VMAX scooters. These guys are like the David Hasselhoff of electric scooters. So what's so special? Well, in typical Swiss style, the design of these scooters is all about simplicity and build quality and being really pleasant to use. But it's also important that they come with all the features we expect in 2024, like variable regen brakes, bar and turn signals, tubeless tires for the most part, and 2-year warranties. For this review, we're gonna fully test 5 different VMAX scooters and 14 Segway Ninebot scooters. We tested top speed, acceleration, range, hill climbing, and brake distance, the exact same test for all 19 scooters. Welcome back to ESG. I'm Paul Somerville, and over the last 5 years, I've spent 10,000 hours riding, testing, and reviewing electric scooters. We're gonna show you the most popular VMAX scooters, the VX5 and VX5 Pro, the VX2 and VX2 Extreme, and the VX4. And we'll find out where the VMAX scooters beat the Segways and where they didn't. Just to give you a hint of how things are gonna go, here's a graph showing the ESG official range test of the VMAX scooters in red and all of the Segway scooters in blue. These data points aren't specs, these are actual range tests. We rode all of these scooters on the same test course in sport mode from full to empty. And then just to show that we aren't picking on Segway here, if we graph the range test for all of the brands we've tested, VMAX still stands out for range per dollar, but this is just one test, so stick with us. We have a lot more tests to come, and we'll make some recommendations at the very end. Let's check out the scooters, starting with the smallest VMAX, the VX5. Right now on sale, they range from $249 to $349, but even though they're selling for what you'd expect to pay for a toy scooter, and teens could certainly ride it, the VX5 is made for adult riders with a rider weight limit of 265 pounds. This is a real vehicle that you could use as a reliable daily commuter. It's got a single 400-watt motor making 800 watts of peak power and comes equipped with 8.5-inch tubed tires. But stay with me, there is a tubeless tire option for the VX5, and the rest of the scooters we're going to talk about in this video are all tubeless. We love the VX5's big, easy read display and the fact that VMAX scooters come with an app, but it doesn't force you to use the app. You have complete control over the scooters right through the buttons on the handlebars. You can switch ride modes, turn on zero start, enable cruise control, turn on the headlight, and engage beast mode without the app. There are 2 things I don't love about the VX5, and those are the grips, which have nice palm support but can twist a little bit while you ride, and the stem latch, which is okay, but it's just not as good as the latches on the rest of the VMAX lineup, including the one on the VX5 Pro. But before we get into the VX5 Pro, let's check out performance. The VX5s beat the Ninebot E2 Pro on range per dollar, coming in at 18.5 miles and 19.7 miles in sport mode. They also beat the E2 Pro on top speed, acceleration to 15 miles per hour, and braking distance. But the E2 Pro just edges out the VX5 on hill climb time, and US models of the E2 Pro come with nice swag lights. The VX5 is the most portable scooter VMAX makes. It folds down quickly and is relatively lightweight at 34 to 38 pounds depending on the battery size you get. It's also the most budget friendly. So this is the best choice if you need a high quality commuter scooter that's easy to carry and the easiest to afford. We should mention that the performance shown for all the VMAX scooters in this video are for the largest battery GT versions, but other than the range numbers, the performance should be about the same for the smaller battery ST and LT versions of the VMAX scooters. For about $80 more, you can upgrade to the VX5 Pro. It has basically all the same specs as the VX5 in terms of battery size and power, but adds 9-inch tubeless tires rather than 8.5. You also get turn signals, improved grips that lock to the handlebars, and a nicer stem latch. Next up are 2 favorites. The VX2 and VX2 Extreme give you the best mix of performance and portability, and that's why they're VMAX's best-selling scooters. Oh, and a note, all the prices we're showing are the current sale prices, so use the links in the description for the latest prices, and we'll put them down in the comments as well. The performance from these single-motor scooters honestly surprised me. Not just that in beast mode you have to watch out for power wheelies, but they climbed hills we previously thought were impossible for single motor scooters. and more on that in a minute. VMAX specs the VX2s as having 500-watt motors, but they are seriously underselling it here. These scooters routinely beat 1,000-watt scooters in head-to-head tests. So naturally, we want to compare the VX2s to the Ninebot Max G2, starting with performance. The VX2s beat the Ninebot Max G2 and the original Ninebot Max G30 on range, and did it while going noticeably faster. Here again, VMAX wins for top speed, acceleration from 0 to 15 miles per hour, and braking. And it beat the Ninebot for hill climb too. But while the VX2s win on performance, the Max G2 has better ride quality across a much wider variety of surfaces because it has full suspension, but at the cost of being 8 pounds heavier. The VX2 and the Max G2 use the same reliable brake layout with drum brakes up front and then regen brakes out back. But the Ninebot gives it to you all in one brake lever, where the VMAX separates out the brakes into regen braking at the right lever and a front drum brake controlled by the left lever. Both the VX2s and the Ninebot Max G2 give you bar and turn signals that are built to be dropped without consequence, but the VMAX scooters also add little crab eye turn signals on the deck. I feel like you can tell a lot about the build quality of a scooter by the stem latch, and the latches on the VX2 and VX2 Extreme are some of the very best. The VX2's tires are an upgrade from the VX5 Pro, going from 9 inches to nice wide 10-inch tires, but unlike the Ninebot Max G2, there's no built-in sealant on the VMAX scooters. Overall, I think the VX2 GT is the best value in the entire VMAX lineup when it comes to performance per dollar, and at 8 pounds lighter and 3.5 inches shorter in overall length than the Ninebot Max G2, the VX2 Pro GT also gives you the best blend of performance and portability. But if you're somebody who wants the most performance they can get, the VX2 Extreme could be for you. In fact, this single motor scooter has so much performance that I have to give you like an actual I'm not kidding around warning about it. If you put it into beast mode, you have to be absolutely sure you're standing all the way forward before you just apply full throttle from a standstill, or it will power wheel you. It actually came out from underneath me a couple times during testing. The VX2 Extreme costs $200 to $300 more than the VX2 Pro, gives you about 2 miles per hour higher top speed, noticeably quicker acceleration than the VX2, a nicer display with much nicer access to the scooter's settings, and while they seem otherwise identical, the VX2 Extreme gives you a much wider deck. All this power gives the VX2 absolutely outstanding hill climbing. In fact, it's the only single motor scooter to ever climb the steepest hill in San Francisco, though we haven't put them all to the test yet. The VX2 is an absolute beast of a single motor scooter. It's really hard to believe they've stuffed this much performance into a relatively portable scooter. And the final VMAX scooter that we're checking out is the VX4, a premium single motor ultra commuter. This power cruiser made such an impression on me when I reviewed it that I said, this may be my favorite single motor electric scooter right now. All the VMAX scooters feel very solid, but what makes the VX4 so special is that, we take one big motor, add full suspension, a big deck, a smooth throttle. You now have a scooter that will literally get you across town faster than a car, but it doesn't wear you out the way that riding a dual motor electric scooter does, or the way that riding a smaller scooter without suspension does. I enjoyed testing it so much that I decided to take it for a complete lap around San Francisco. From here to Chase Center, to Oracle Park, to the Ferry Building, to the Trans-American Pyramid, to Coit Tower, to Fisherman's Wharf, to the Golden Gate Bridge, to the Cliff House and Ocean Beach, to Lake Merced, and finally back home. And then rode another 10 miles after that. Ever since then, I kind of use this idea as a gut check. For example, would I want to do an entire lap of the city on the VX2 Extreme? It's not my first choice. But the VX4, I could do it literally twice in a row. Like the other scooters, the VX4 is on sale right now, so the prices we mentioned in this video might not stick around, but you can check the links to find out for sure. The VX4 costs more than the other scooters because it has a larger battery and full suspension. It's got a motorcycle-style front fork, rubber suspension in the back that's progressive, so it gets stiffer the heavier you are. And this scooter actually has 3 brakes, a drum brake up front, it's got a disc brake in the back, and then both levers, either one, will also activate the regen brake in the rear wheel. It comes with knobby semi-off-road tires, so the tires, suspension, and super high IP rating mean you can ride it just about anywhere, but maybe not on the beach. It has the same user interface I mentioned for the VX2 Extreme, and one of the features I love here is you never have to worry about messing up the settings because you can always reset them back to original. This is the level of detail and thoughtfulness of design that you're gonna find throughout the VMAX scooters. The VX4 has the same insane 1600 watts of peak power as the VX2 Extreme, but it delivers it in a more civilized manner, partly because it just weighs 20 pounds more. Now, I'm not gonna cover how to put all these scooters into beast mode because the different models do it differently, but we cover it in the individual reviews, and you should go watch those when you're done watching this video. But I will show you how to tell if you're in beast mode, because you can't tell by looking at the screen. So the way to know that you're in the top mode on this scooter is you pretty much just have to lift the wheel off the ground like that,
and check the speedo. And so we're gonna spin it up before we go out. We're seeing like 27 miles per hour in sport mode, and that should be enough.
Let's check out the performance of the VX4 compared to the new Segway ZT3 Pro, starting with the range test. I rode the VX4 GT 32.1 miles, and on the same ESG range test course, I rode the ZT3 Pro 20.5 miles before it just stopped going, despite riding the VX4 much faster. The VX4 also wins on top speed with an ESG certified 25.1 miles per hour, but the Segway won for acceleration and braking due to the ZT3 Pro's boost mode and dual disc brakes. The VX4 is a great hill climber, especially for larger riders. In fact, here's what happened when 238-pound Ray Mir got on the VX4 and raced 165-pound me on the VX2.
Paul on the VX2 versus Ray Mir on the VX4 on the ESG 10% grade test hill. Let's go. 3, 2, 1, go! Oh, it's pretty close. Ray Mir's pulling me though. How fast am I going? 11 miles an hour. Oh. Nice. That's it. So these are two of the strongest single motor hill climbers we've ever tested. And the VX4 is clearly stronger because Ray Mir just beat me up the hill, and I weigh, 165. Ray Mir's at 238 pounds. And so there we go.
It even climbed a hill twice as steep as our test hill with no problem. But the VX4 didn't beat the Segway ZT3's boost mode hill climb time. But it's a complicated result because when boost mode expires on the ZT3 Pro, the VX4 is quicker. When we look at portability, the VX4 weighs 20 pounds more than the VX2's, but is still half a pound lighter than the ZT3. At 65.5 pounds, I'm comfortable carrying this upstairs, but not everybody's gonna wanna do that. So who should get the VX4 and who should get the ZT3 Pro? I think the VX4 is my top choice right now for city rides longer than an hour or two because of its ride quality and long range. But while the VX4 is off-road capable, the ZT3 Pro has the edge when it comes to dirt riding because of the larger diameter tires, and it's got longer travel suspension. So when I look at all of the scooters, I think the reason that VMAX is gonna do well in the United States, and the reason they have a chance at being the next Segway Ninebot, and Apollo is doing this too, is they're focused on a lot of the stuff that kind of seems boring on the surface, but it's actually the stuff you really care about after you buy a scooter. They manufacture their own scooters, so they have more control over the quality, and the way you can tell this is just like with Segway and Apollo, you won't see clones of these scooters anywhere, and in fact, pretty much every part on these scooters is unique to the brand. All of them are UL 2272 certified for safe charging. They all have IPX6 water resistance, which is the highest we expect to see on a scooter in 2024. They all have 2-year warranties, and a detail that's just so important and also so often overlooked, you can find tons of spare parts on the VMAX website. These guys are playing the long game, and I feel like people are starting to really notice. For the latest and best prices on VMAX scooters, use the links in this video's description and pinned in the first comment, and if we can find any coupon codes, we'll put them there too. Using our links costs you nothing and helps support all the testing it takes to make more videos like this one. If you enjoyed this video and the kind of testing we do here at ESG, we've handpicked 2 more reviews for you and put them right here. I'm Paul Somerville from ESG. Don't ride like me, but do always remember to wear a helmet.